Hi there. My name is Kay Moon, and I am a Western astrologer and twin flame channel. And this is a video about the Aquarius new moon taking place on January 29th at 7:35 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. Ooh, we got an exciting new moon. I love Aquarian energy because it's all about newness, all about something different, unconventional, something unique. Happy birthday to all the Aquarians in the star family. I am so grateful you are here. Here's our new moon right there at the ninth degree of Aquarius, speaking in conjunction with Mercury, consciousness, Pluto, power, and fear. Also having a conversation with Jupiter retrograde down here in Gemini. That's our faith, hope, and optimism maker. We have communication with Make in Libra. This is an energy that speaks to learning lessons and bringing them back to share with other people. We also have a square to Vesta in Scorpio here. What a potent new moon. There's going to be a lot of revelations here, shakeups and changes specifically in the world of partnership because of other planetary energies in play, like Venus and Juno, who will both go retrograde this year. And I'm going to break it all down in just a moment, but I'd like to say thank you for being here. If you're a part of the Divine Connection Twin Flame Collective, but you've been taking a break from those updates on my channel, you may be guided to start checking in again now, as there are some new developments for Divine counterparts that I'm talking this community through to prepare you for the year ahead. Secondly, I'm getting ready to launch my next workshop. This one will be for the Divine Connection and Twin Flame Soulmate Collective. It's coming this Saturday with an early bird invite and pricing for the private list this Wednesday. Definitely get on the private list to be the first to know. Link is below the video. Third, I did lives with members of our star family who have YouTube channels this week about the energy coming up for 2025, including Ali's Tarot, uh, Made for Love, and Lee and Sherry. Links to each of the channels I did the recordings with are in the community section if you want to catch the replays. The February calendar is now open for those who'd like to book for Valentine's Day and have a look at love in the year ahead. And lastly, for those who listen to these intros, I just want to say a special thank you. If you listen to an ad, if you thumbs up the video, if you subscribe, thank you. For those who share super chats or tips with me through my PayPal, thank you so much. I could not do what I do without you. And sharing classes and offering readings is the actual way I make my money, because I barely get paid from YouTube, given that I only post really kind of twice a month, and I certainly don't do short form content for the time being. So I deeply appreciate those of you who listen and those of you who share, because it's you guys who make it possible for me to keep doing what I'm doing. It means the world to me. Shout out to the intro crew, because you guys, I gotta say, you have a special place in my heart. Let's get into this new moon with a little more detail here. I mentioned that there's a conjunction from this new moon to Mercury and Pluto here, right next to it. This is a powerful and potent communication. It's a capacity for deep insight, awareness, and ability to see behind the scenes here. This energy is good for any work that requires mental concentration, deep focus, and study. Big shout out to all the students, engineers of all types, writers, strategists, forensic specialists, and architects of all types. Heading into this new moon, you're going to get a huge boost for your mental acuity and clarity, as well as your productivity powers. So this will be a great time to do any major work, planning, or decision making that requires concentration and focus for all of us, and will especially help those of you in the types of career paths mentioned. This combination will also sharpen and, in some cases, harshen communication, which, be mindful. If you know you're the type for harsh communication. As we come into this new moon, just be mindful to think before you speak. Certainly, the Aquarian energy can have a little bit of the capacity to be just a little bit blunt sometimes. And once things have been said, they can't be unheard. So be mindful with words if you know that's you. But for those of you who know sharpening communication is something that you really need, utilize this new moon's energy to take advantage of things that require sharp communication skills, like writing copy for your website or creating language for products and services that you know you are going to sell in your business, updating your resume if you're looking for a new job. This is the kind of energy that will help you find the right words to be able to cut through the noise and allow other people to connect with you and what you can do for them. This is also an energy that can reveal the secrets. So, I'm going to leave it at that. If you got secrets that you don't want revealed, you know what to do. If you stumble into a secret that wasn't necessarily yours to know, I would treat other people's discretion with care the same way you'd want your discretion to be treated. But this is also an energy that can bring us into curiosity about the occult. Mysteries can be understood, depth psychology, new approaches to psychological advancements. Those things can all flourish here. Again, this is another lunation that's going to be great for those of you who are readers, mediums, psychics, tarot readers of all types. This energy is going to really enhance your capacity to see deeply into the psychology of the people you're reading for and really be able to serve them well. Okay. I'll also say that revelation can occur with this, where things you didn't know that you didn't know can show themselves and have a powerful, irreversible impact. Ultimately, this is meant to move us forward. As we are in a time of great change collectively, we're not meant to stay in the same place in our lives with the same mindset and the same life. We are meant to begin seeing things differently, and this new moon could present some information or the dawning of an awareness that facilitates a breakthrough and the end of a pathway, the end of a way of thinking, and even potentially the end of a relationship to a particular group or community. Those are things that Aquarius represents. We also see with this new moon a trine to Jupiter down here, as I mentioned. And this adds to the mental acuity and depth. Big, bright, bold, new ideas can come forward at this time. That can be the breakthrough that we have been waiting on, certainly in business, definitely in groups of people, and absolutely personally in our lives. We can get solutions and downloads at this time that may seem out of the box, but will definitely work. So definitely pay attention to any aha moments you're having in the shadow. This energy can create a bit of rumors, secrets, gossip. We could even collectively see some level of tabloid exposure of celebrity secrets or scandals here. And we can see that start to circulate or quickly and rapidly escalate, potentially providing inaccurate information, because the quality of Jupiter retrograde in Gemini speaking to a new moon like this has a very sensational and salacious energy to it that could be hard to repress, even if it's untrue. So again, be very mindful with language and communication here. There is a chance that communication that is either poorly delivered and harshly said or incorrectly named can actually spread very quickly and cause significant problems. I actually had a client who went through this once. She was just venting at her job to one colleague, only for everything she said to get brought back around to another colleague that then worked against her in the workplace and eventually and ultimately got her released from that job. So be mindful with words and things you share, especially if it is not yours to share. Okay. We all need a little discretion around our lives sometimes, and we certainly need to be careful with our words if it's not necessarily going to be helpful or true in circumstances for other people or kind. Okay, we see the trine as well from this new moon to Make Make out here. If you're unfamiliar with Make Make, Make Make is known as the shaman's asteroid and brings an energy of taking a journey to learn a lesson and bring the information and wisdom back to the tribe. Make Make is in Libra, our sign of equal partnerships, speaking to this new moon, and this brings a frequency of lessons learned and reflections to the table. It's a tempering effect and it can make us reflective, especially since Make Make is retrograde, which is going to be very constructive at this time. It will temper some of that Jupiter energy in its shadow if it should show up in shadow. It will also be very helpful because it will bring us into hard won lessons or bring hard won lessons into present time. Okay. This may also make us teachers, guides, and way showers for other people at this time who may lean into those lessons and really want to understand how did we overcome X, Y, or Z. We'll have the opportunity to share and impart that wisdom under the light of this Aquarius new moon. We see lastly here with this new moon a square to Vesta, and it's an exact square, so it's a bit intense. Squares can cause a little bit of commotion and a lot of tension, certainly some unrest. Vesta is the energy of dedication and follow through. What we discover, any revelations that are shared at this particular new moon may challenge our commitments and our investments or our ability to follow through on them. They may also cause us to need to redefine and reshape expectations with people around us. With that in mind, what I will say is it's really, really important. Check and double check, especially if you're making changes based on things you've heard and you didn't necessarily get it from the horse's mouth. Great opportunity to have the difficult conversation before making changes so that you're in a position to make the changes with the best information available. There's some, now I didn't get into the relationship stuff yet because that's Venus, that's Juno, and some of the conversations they are having. Neither one of them is speaking to this new moon, but they are a critical energy at this lunar update. So I'm going to talk about those in a minute, which you're going to want to stick around for because that'll also include some changes to money and financial circumstances as well. But if you're in need of some support around the things we've just spoken about, definitely book a reading. The energy of this moon will be very active and increase in potency from January 22nd all the way to 7 days after. I believe that'll be around February 6th or so. If you need some support, now's a great time to book a reading. You can find me over at kmoonastro.com. Link to book is just below this video. Okay. There are some signs who are going to feel this particular new moon most. Of course, that includes Aquarius and its opposite sign, Leos, sun, moon, and rising. We also want to consider the other two fixed signs, Scorpio and Taurus, and the two air signs, Libra and Gemini. Sun, moon, and rising, you six signs are going to feel this new moon the most. But let's take a look at what's going on elsewhere in the zodiac, as it is certainly shaking up and waking up and creating lots of revelation and breakthroughs. We have Uranus, the base of the chart, to thank for that, the governing planet of Aquarius. As mentioned, we see Mercury here in Pluto. Let's see the conversations Mercury is having elsewhere around the wheel. Mercury and Pluto are conjunct there in Aquarius. As mentioned, this is going to bring some deep revelations, some penetrating insights. We see the two of them are also sextile to Neptune. This is going to add a spiritual component and enhance creativity, artistry, imagination, and elegant solutions. Those are all available with this new moon, and creates an energy of open hearts and open minds. So if there are challenging conversations to be had, this is a great time to have them. I always like to tell you guys when is a great time to have a conversation and when is a time where conversations are likely to go in circles. If you know there's tough conversations to be had, now's a good time to do it. We see as well Mercury and Pluto there are in having a square to some friends over here in Aries. We see Chiron here and an energy called Make. This can evoke, and maybe a little less Chiron, more so just Make. If you don't know Make, she's the energy of disruption and chaos. She's also the energy of righteous indignation. And so this can evoke a sense of frustration and or acting out if we're feeling like we're being dealt a bad hand. Be careful of not being someone else's punching bag or letting somebody else be your punching bag, because that energy can certainly show itself here with this square, definitely verbally, but also physically. So just be very mindful with this. If you know you're the kind of person who can run a little hot, get your tools, resources, and support in place to take the timeouts that you need in order to handle big feelings before needing to have big conversations. Okay. We also see a trine to Uranus here for Pluto and Mercury there. This is where we may get surprising communication about money, the body, value related issues, and have a supernatural solution at hand at the same time. This is a time when prayer, affirmations, and divine intercession can have a huge impact, as our co creation with the unseen world will be amplified with the Aquarius new moon. I like to think of Aquarius as the collective consciousness. This is the kind of energy where if it's able to be known, it can be intuited at this particular time. Again, you really want to be careful with those words said to self about others and words said to self about yourself. This kind of energy can have an extraordinary impact on the material world, given the communication between Uranus, Mercury, and Pluto at this particular lunation. Okay. Thoughts can become things, I guess, is what I'm trying to say very quickly with this. So use that. That's power. Use it wisely and well. Okay. And we also see a sextile to Neptune conjunct Venus in Pisces. Here is Venus, here is Neptune. The two of them are in Pisces, and they are sextile to the Mercury-Pluto conjunction there in Aquarius. This right here is the clincher. This and another energy, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, is what makes this new moon particularly about relationships and revelations within relationships. But let's talk about this one first. It brings the spiritual, emotional, and mental together for a combination that amplifies our intuition in love and money matters. You may get some deep intuitive hits about your love connections, about money in relationship to love connections for those of you who share joint finances. You may also get some revelations about your partner. Some people may even experience a deep, spiritual, intense interaction that seems to come out of nowhere with another person and blows your heart and your mind wide open. It does seem to be short-lived. Nevertheless, it is there and it allows you in a catalytic way to take a big step forward in your financial life or in your love life. Okay. This Mercury Pluto situation is just one energy. Let's move on and talk about Mars now. Here's Mars, who has been retrograde there in the sign of Cancer for some time. We see a loose sextile to Jupiter retrograde there in Gemini. This is an interesting energy. That we may see unusual, unconventional behaviors of all sorts come out of nowhere, especially because Mars is going to also be in communication with Uranus at this particular new moon. And Uranus governs the unpredictable, and Jupiter amplifies whatever it touches. Mars in water sign Cancer can be very moody. It can act on impulse as well without necessarily thinking things through. This particular sextile, I think I said square, but it is a sextile to Taurus, Uranus here, and a semi-sextile to Jupiter there in Gemini. This configuration, semi-sextile to Jupiter, sextile to Uranus, both speaking, the two of them retrograde, both speaking to Mars and Cancer, we can find ourselves in a bit of moodiness meeting indecisiveness. And so we may see acting out behaviors of all kinds. So if you feel or you're witnessing people who feel restless or colicky like a baby, know that it's going to pass, but you can use this energy for physical activity to your benefit. Just be careful not to overdo it when you're working out at the gym or anywhere else. But physical activity can really calm the nervous system if you find that emotions and mind are all over the show at this new moon. That's certainly a real possibility here. Take the time to move your physical body. If you don't know what you're feeling, it will help you settle things regardless of whether you know what you're feeling or not. That Mars retrograde energy is also in communication with Chiron and Eris over here, and that is a square communication. This is going to facilitate an energy of added internal stimulation, which specifically around woundedness or feeling left out, feeling abandoned, feeling rejected. The amount of stimulation, both in the atmosphere and in your own life, could trigger some old wounds and wound-based reactionary behavior. So just be very mindful of that, especially those of you who know when you get triggered, there's a certain go-to behavior you have, whether it's an addiction or taking certain things out on other people or yourself or withdrawing and shutting down. If you feel yourself going into that place, again, great opportunity with Chiron in the mix. Phone a friend, reach out to someone who's been through what you're growing through. Also, exercise, move your body, shake the emotions physically so that they can't stay in the body. Okay. Great opportunity to use those two outlets to help you get through this energy if it should render in that way for you. We also see that Mars retrograde in Cancer here, having a conversation with, this is a really fun one. Neptune, Venus, Nessus, and Saturn all there in Pisces. Now, this is an energy of obsession meets rumination meets intense emotions. Now, in the light, this will give us the opportunity to take action toward an obsession. Now, for some people, this will create a breakthrough where there's been stagnation. So if you love video games, let's say, and you've been thinking about creating a channel on YouTube or Twitch to stream video games, this will help you break up stagnation to begin the process of emotionally connecting with fulfilling that goal, right? We can use this in the light, like, you know what, let me just get off my duff and do it already. In the shadow, however, this can create boundary crossing and a lack of self-control. The key is to know yourself, okay? Be very mindful of this for yourself. If you know you're the type of person who really struggles with boundaries and limits, maybe around spending. Certainly, we could see overspending with this. It could be around the way you handle your interactions with other people. We could certainly see emotional spillage, and a lack of personal self, emotional, or nervous system regulation, trying to make other people responsible for making us feel better, right? That can certainly happen here. Okay, and again, because Uranus is in the mix, if I said this at the last lunar update, because it was definitely present then, it's still present now. If you know you have somebody in your life that is under the umbrella of stalker, who has been an unsafe person for you to be around, please take extra precaution at this time, as you could see some of those old behaviors flare up with this kind of energy from that kind of person. If you know you are that kind of person and somebody else has already set boundaries with you, this is an opportunity to utilize the healthy outlets that you need in order to handle any big feelings that can come up this time, so that there's the situation with you and the person who has set the boundaries does not escalate and spiral in a way that could cause irreversible damage for you and your life. Okay. Now, let's talk about this Mars retrograde opposite the Mercury conjunct Pluto, as if that wasn't intense enough. Pluto and Mars, whenever they are in any kind of conversation, it can go one of two ways. It creates a lot of power for action, but it can also create a lot of power struggles in interactions. With Mercury in the mix, this brings the mental and communication component into the cocktail. And we can really utilize this for amazing getting things done energy in our lives. There's a lot of emotional motivation moving us toward what we are focused on here. Thank you, Mars retrograde in emotional water sign Cancer. There can be a real clarity about what we're emotionally invested in. There could be some interior power struggles as well. This sort of will I, won't I sort of energy here, that can create a lot of mental tension and stress. If you know you're the kind of person, especially who can be prone to headaches, take extra care with the way you're handling stress with this configuration, okay? This could also create some very harsh words for other people and for ourselves. A lot of self-blame can show up in this energy, or self painful sort of things, like really being in a place of being harsh and critical of others, critical of ourselves. So be careful again with words. Words can become things very quickly, in this sort of energy, and they can certainly transmit in a way where it can have unintended consequences. So, a good example that I've seen with this, I've had a client who is constantly thinking, my kid is always messing up, always letting me down, always, um, you know, just doing the wrong thing. When will they ever stop getting in trouble? Energy like that sort of interior complaint or voiced and vocal venting can actually transmit itself to the other person and facilitate more of that same kind of behavior. And like I said, I've seen that happen with clients, and when they change their mental communication and self-talk about their kid, it stopped adding to the child's expression of pain and suffering, and was able to calm some of the behavior down. And then they were able to work together to get the child some help. And so, really, again, thoughts can become things so quickly in this energy. Be very careful of what you're saying to yourself, about yourself, and to other people, because, like I said, there can be some harsh words here. And once they've been said, they cannot be unheard. Okay. Mars is also trine Juno and Scorpio at this time. And this is where I was going to talk about more relationship stuff. This is where surprising relationship stuff can show up. You may have someone act in an unexpected way. You may do something yourself that's out of character. This exacerbates the Mercury conjunct Pluto aspect I was just talking about, and the Neptune conjunct Venus energy over here in Pisces with Nepsis, this obsession energy. Potent feelings are always unfolding when Venus is in communication with Pluto or when Mars is in communication with Juno. And at this particular new moon, both things are happening at the same time. Now, this can have and create a lot of intense attractions, unignorable, powerful pulls toward other people, and certain experiences are featured at this new moon. We will see Mars trine Juno, while Juno is also opposite Uranus here. Uranus is that energy of surprise. Mars is that energy of action. Surprise action, speaking to the governor of partnerships and spousal relationships. That's Juno. I think you can do the math here. You probably are already starting to see some of this where there can be out of character behaviors coming from other people. There can also be some surprise revelations of thoughts and feelings that people may have had for you, maybe even some declarations that you give to somebody else, like, I've always carried feelings for you, or I still feel, even though we broke up, I still feel XYZ way about us. We could certainly see, like I said, some uncharacteristic behaviors at this new moon. My guidance for you is to trust yourself. If you get that instinct to take an action that would shake up a relationship that's existing in some way, where it's like, okay, we're in a rut. I need to shake this up. We can't continue to stay in this rut. We need a breakthrough. Trust yourself, take the action. Again, where boundaries have been drawn, please don't violate them for good reason, right? Don't want to see you in any trouble with the law. But for those of you where it's just you and your partner and you're in a rut, take an opportunity to break free from the monotony, the mundane, and the status quo. Utilize this energy to move things forward by trying something new and different, okay? This is a very important time in this year for breaking loops, patterns, and stuck energy with doing something out of the box. Again, this is going to yield best results through knowing yourself and your relationship. Someone asked for and created boundaries, honor that. But if you just let things fall into a rut, the stars are supporting your choice to break that at this time. Use this to your advantage. Break up the stillness. Okay. And lastly, this Mars retrograde is also going to be speaking to Lilith and Libra up here by square. Again, the caution here is believing it all needs to be one way or another, going or being obstinate about it having it all your way in particular. So extreme thinking, but also like my way or the highway thinking, these sorts of things are going to go a long way to causing some problems. We want to be negotiable here, like have a ability to have conversations, but simultaneously be willing to do something new and collaborate with other people to find win-win solutions for both. Here we go with Venus here in Pisces. Venus in Pisces, I mean, if that's not enough, but this is Aquarian energy, right? Aquarius is like all the things all at once. And so here is that Venus in Pisces. We see it conjunct Saturn, Nessus, and Neptune in Pisces. So here's Nessus, here's Saturn, here's Neptune. You don't have to know what they all mean. I'm going to give you the interpretation in just a moment. We also see Venus trine that Juno and Scorpio. up there. She's also trine to Mars retrograde. So we've got a grand water trine here. It's really going to be impactful for money and our relationships. We also see Venus opposite this Lilith in Libra there. All of this echoes what was just shared with Mars, Uranus, and Juno, since they're all in conversation via the grand water trine. The thing about using the Uranian energy, which is also speaking to Venus, it's not just speaking to Venus, but it's also speaking to Juno. So both of our planets that deal with relationships are getting a shakeup from Uranus at the exact same time. Uranus is the dominant energy as the outer planet. And Uranus is the energy of surprises, quantum leaps, evolution, the new, the next. It wants to break up any stagnation here. And whatever changes we make at this time, because Saturn is also in the mix, Nessus too, whatever changes we make at this time have potential to stick for a very long time, given Saturn's connection to both Venus and Juno, and a loose trine to Vesta and Scorpio here for Saturn. So the totality of this says, yes, break up stagnation in relationships, get out of your ruts and routines. Do not let the status quo stand if it has been unhealthy for you. But if you're going to make a change, be mindful about it, because changes made under energy like this can absolutely be long term. This is the perfect time to set new money habits, new self-care habits, new wellness and beauty routines. This is also a perfect time for creating new relationship habits with your loved ones, like taking a moment to connect with each other each day before connecting with your phones, implementing an evening ritual that cultivates connection for healthy communication. This will be especially helpful in relationships where you want to change up the way you handle emotions, since this is a grand water trine and water deals with emotions, such as changing up, flying off the handle, or making your partnership your emotional dumping ground, using your partner for emotional regulation, but not regulating yourself, not opening up to your partner, withholding difficult truths, and believing that they cannot handle the truth or survive the truth or face it with you as an equal partner. Shaking that up, breaking up patterns of emotional shutdown or shutting people out or only connecting when there are substances involved, or breaking up patterns of only being able to stay in the connection because there's a third party outlet that makes the connection bearable. The combination here, especially because Saturn is involved, supports congruence, alignment, and structural integrity in relationships. So you may be having, if any of those sorts of patterns, let me put it this way. None of us are perfect. We all have patterns in relationships that we would like to evolve, both in ourselves, but we may also see it in the people around us. This particular new moon, this configuration, this grand water trine, gives us the opportunity to look and say, all right, where can I take that next step? Because the pattern I'm living in isn't working for me. It could be anything, but it's all about, and you may feel it, that interior impetus, that interior push, that interior yearning. I gotta switch this up. I can't keep things going in this way. If you feel that, it's these planets saying, yes, we have your back. Change, grow, you got this. We'll support you. Okay. So Saturn in this configuration, like I said, wants the structural integrity. Uranus is trying to elevate us into that reality by breaking up the stuckness that operates in contrast to our values. That's Taurus. Mars is making sure we take action by making us too emotionally uncomfortable with what's not working in emotional water sign Cancer to keep it going and doing nothing about it at the same time. And then this Lilith energy up here at the top, that's in communication with all of this in partnership Sign Libra is functioning as a self-inclusionary buffer for those in relationships or financial situations where you may have felt like a doormat. If that's the case, Lilith is helping you to step up and stand up for yourself. Now, if any of this resonated for you as like, yep, 2025 needs to be the year where I no longer fill in the blank with money or in love, and you need help understanding why you do it and what you can do about it, now's the time to book a reading. The February calendar is open. We can talk through what your chart says is your divine blueprint in the area where you're challenged or stuck. And we can chart your pathway to breakthrough because it's going to be different for every single person. Okay. We also see here Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. As I mentioned earlier, Jupiter is trine the full Aquarius stellium here. And in that trine, Jupiter enhances all of the Aquarian energy. We're seeing it is also trine Make. That makes for a grand air trine. This is creating expansion, multiplication, and amplification of the Aquarian stellium. I debated calling this particular new moon 10x, because with Jupiter in communication and everything that I just shared about these other planetary energies, this new moon is going to take small steps and make them big steps. Take small changes and blow them out of the water. Take small pieces of gossip and make them whole rumor mill exploits. Take small things and make them big things very easily. So use this intentionally. This particular new moon is such an amplifier. Be very intentional. A little goes a long way here, but also so too does being conscious and intentional. Okay. Jupiter in Gemini retrograde, speaking to this particular new moon, does guarantee some sort of revelation and insight, some new ideas. Here, the Pluto, Mercury, and series here, bookending this stellium series, talks about changing seasons. Pluto talks about closures. Things that come to a halt and or end here are definitely for our benefit in the sign of quantum leaps. That's Aquarius. They are trying to move us forward, so don't fret if there's any sort of loss at this new moon. It is also because there is a new chapter opening for you. You just need to give yourself a minute to see it. And Make here is saying, take lessons you've learned and apply them at this time for your own benefit. Okay. Great opportunity to set up trial runs, experiments, and test periods to figure out whether or not something can work for us before we dive all the way in. But like starting a business, maybe just start with selling one particular product, see how it goes before, committing to a job, especially with so many retrogrades. Ask them if they're willing to do a trial period with you, right? These sorts of things. Typically, it's not always, but sometimes we date before we get into a relationship. I know sometimes that's not the case, especially in certain Eastern cultures. You may marry and then get to know one another, but this is the opportunity. This new moon is saying, hey, why don't you try it before you buy it? This sort of thing. So if that's the case in your life where you can create the space for a trial run, definitely do that, because you'll be much happier with the result by taking what you learn from the trial run and then applying it to the full thing later, especially because things begun at this new moon definitely have the potential to stick for quite some time. Okay, that is what I got. The first look component that I normally do at the Lightworker Energy Update is moving. It will be part of the All Signs video going forward. So look for it there. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and sharing. I always appreciate when you invite your friends and family to our tribe here. And when you subscribe and hit that notification bell, it certainly goes a long way in letting the algorithm know that this content should be shared with people who are just like you and me. And I look forward to seeing you at the next lunar update. Take great care and bye for now.